Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Aristocrats Soccer Podcast. Your host, Jake Keegan, here with Dave Harris. Dave, say hi.
Hello, or not. Everybody. Kevin, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate
it. This week we have Kevin Garcia, who's I played with him in Galway during the 2015 season, and he went on. He had an MLS career for 3 or 4 seasons. And now he's with FC Tulsa in the USL Championship. So welcome to the show, Kev.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So obviously the 2020 season for everyone was crazy with all the COVID stuff. I guess we can just go a little bit into that. And Tulsa, you guys had a very good season this year, much improved from previous years. I think it was down to their new center back signing, but that's just my opinion. How was 2020 for Kevin?
It was, it had its ups and downs like everyone else did. 2020 was a year, that was really unexpected. I had just gotten married, just come back from a honeymoon, traveling South America with my wife in December. And Houston Dynamo hadn't renewed, I played out my contract, and there was a new coach coming in, and they didn't offer me a bona fide offer to retain my rights. So came back working with my agent in January, and there was actually a GM from a team in Armenia who reached out to me, and I looked up the city. It looked like a pretty cool city, good team. One of the more financially stable teams out there, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity. So I was pretty set on that with my agent. And then right around when MLS preseason started, I was asking my agent what was taking so long, because I had already packed my bags. We were getting ready to organize things back home so that my wife could join me as soon as I landed down and was able to settle an apartment and everything. And, I wasn't directly talking to the club, my agent was, and there was 2 weeks there where it was just waiting. And then end of January came out that the deal had fallen through, and that there wasn't going to be a deal done. So I was scrambling there for a little bit, just trying to figure out what to do, because I wanted to be on the team already, and was kind of already a step behind a lot of the other players playing in the country. So I didn't want to. I wanted to explore my options, maybe see if I can get invited to an MLS preseason, or see what other options there were in USL. I was able to call my buddy Eric Bird, who was playing at Tulsa at the time, who had just signed from Tulsa from Houston Dynamo. And he mentioned that there had been some injuries at the center back position, that it would be great if Tulsa would take a look at me. So I got in touch with them, and we were working some stuff out. And around the 3rd week of February, I got a phone call from my agent that DC United had brought in a couple of center backs, and they were going to move on from them. So I was excited at that opportunity, but I also had Tulsa, who were offering me a contract for the rest of the season, and I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure I had both options open. So I had told them that MLS, I guess the roster compliance date is the 28th. It's the last day in February. And I said I need until this day, because that's when the MLS teams need to decide who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go. And I went on trial with DC. I was there for about I arrived on a Monday. Yeah, I was there for about 5 days, and spoke with Ben Olsen, and things were going well. I was playing well, and he told me that he wanted to keep me for a few extra days, and that's where there was a bit of miscommunication, where I told them, well, I have a contract waiting for me, and they have the contract starting on the day after roster compliance, and that was on Saturday. And then so we were like kind of trying to move some pieces there, but at the end of the day, we couldn't come to an agreement where I could extend my stay with DC United. So I ended up leaving DC United and reporting to Tulsa. Arrived on, I think, Sunday, trained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, traveled Thursday, flew to Sacramento and played in my first game. So just a few practices with the team, and then I'm playing in the first game back, and I hadn't played a game since September of the previous season. So it was a crazy off season. Played the first game, went into lockdown. Doing all the virtual workouts. You were doing the same thing, I'm sure. So we were doing that for March, April, May, June. We started voluntary training. The modified season started middle of July. And, I knew we had a talented team just because of the pieces and a lot of the players there with experience. We had some players from Nashville. We had some international players with national team experience. And so I think we had a really core group. It was just getting everyone to kind of develop that chemistry that you want to see within a team, where you start to understand each other and know each player's tendencies, and just develop that trust with your teammates. And I think we started to see that more as the season progressed. And towards the end, I was really enjoying myself playing with the group. And we qualified for the playoffs. We traveled to El Paso, lost some penalties. But I think that outside of Tulsa, everyone thinks, okay, Tulsa turned it around. They had a good year. But I mean, within the team, I think we could have achieved a little bit more. We had our goals set for reaching the championship. I think we had the group to do it. But it was just, unfortunate result there, and going down to the penalties. And would like to continue to leave our mark and change the club. And that's been the message this past year, has been changing the identity of the club, rebranding, and putting Tulsa more on the map than it already was.
Wow, that was a great answer, Kev. I gotta give you that.
I get carried away. So excuse me if I go off on tangents.
That's the best answer we've gotten on this podcast, most extensive. So how much do you think? I actually remember watching that first game, the 1-1 draw, after you had come to Tulsa. I didn't realize you showed up like 3 days before that. I was watching the game. I was like, I thought you did well, but I was like, I had no idea. I would have watched it with a very different lens.
Yeah. I mean, it was. It's just there's no way to really, like, I guess that's what comes with experience, right? Like having to be called on a moment's notice and getting ready to perform, getting yourself mentally, physically ready. Obviously, I hadn't played in many games. I had my fitness wasn't where it should have been, but at my age, I was 29 coming into my 8th season, I think it was. So at that time, with that much experience, I think I know how to manage the game. I know certain areas where I can get away with not overexerting myself to make sure I last the 90 minutes. That's what I did. I tried to preserve myself. I tried to communicate and help the guys as much as I could. It wasn't an easy game. Going to Sacramento isn't a good environment to play in if you're the visiting side. So, and they had a pretty good team. So I think that it was a tough test. We went down 1-0 and we came back, we tied it up, and we were just grinding it out for a tie there. And I think that that time that we had from that first game to when the season started again was crucial for us to kind of gel together and get the whole group together, training together, getting each other to understand what the team philosophy is, and getting the style down. So I think that from the first game to the middle of summer, I think we improved so much more. Yeah, it wasn't easy. You come in anywhere and you have to come in to play a game. I don't think I've ever had to do that where I've just flown and played a game 2 or 3 days later with the team. So that was a first for me. But you just got to do it sometimes. It's the nature of the business. Your number gets called, and you have to make sure you perform and you're ready and up for the task.
Yeah. How much do you think, going back to the DC United opportunity, how much do you think your age and you're a little bit older, you have a wife, family on the way, not at the time, but now you have a family on the way. Do you think your age played a part? And if it was, say, 5 years ago, you would have kind of risked it and said, screw you, Tulsa, sorry, but
not screw. No, I mean that's definitely a part of it. I think the older you get, you look for more secure, stable options. When you're young and out of college, you'll go anywhere, right? You'll go to any corner of the world to play and progress and just try to learn the game, learn different cultures. I mean, we did that. We left the country and we didn't care where they sent us. We just wanted to play and we wanted to keep growing as players. But I think at a certain age, you do like start to turn the page a little bit and you start to think, okay, well, it's not just me I have to think about anymore. I have to think about my significant other. Okay, and are we going to settle down here? Are we going to grow a family here? What's it going to look like if I keep her waiting over there where we have our other apartment while I'm over here trying to chase an opportunity. So that does factor in. And a lot of the times it some options are riskier than others, and so that's what you try to avoid as you progress in life and you start to mature a little bit and you start to have some more responsibility. So I think that has a big role in kind of your mentality and how much risk you want to take later on in your career.
Yeah. Kev, if you just talk a little bit about maybe some of the perseverance. I mean, I think you've had an amazing career. I've really enjoyed following it for the last several years. And, I remember back in the days when you were with Wild Rough Riders and, you were playing games in the Cosmopolitan League, for like, I think you were with the United FC Russian team that was like, had spent a lot of money on guys and won the state cup or something. And then you just kept going and Europe and then MLS, USL, MLS, USL, like perseverance, absolutely amazing. And you've achieved so much. So just maybe talk a little bit about, perseverance.
Oh, thank you, first off, Dave, for those kind words. So, I mean, just going back to Rough Riders, that was during college, right? That was during my time at Villanova. I was actually playing Rough Riders.
The New England drafted you, right?
It was after New England. Okay, because I had been with Rough Riders before I graduated from school, and then after I graduated, I So
I'm thinking
starting with
want
me to start with as soon as I got drafted from New England, start from there. Okay. So 4 years at Villanova, got drafted by New England, January of 2012, reported for camp for 2 weeks, loved the experience, wanted to stay, but we never had the conversation about me wanting to go back to school to finish my degree, because I was on a scholarship and I needed to finish my degree or else I'd have to pay for it eventually. So for me, it was important to finish my college degree. And I spoke with Ben Heaps when we were in Casa Grande, Arizona. We were in preseason there. I told Jay Heaps, we started talking about I went to Duke and how at Nova and how I didn't get to finish my degree I had that last semester. And so he was telling me well, as a coach, I'll tell you if you go back, it's going to be hard for you to make the team, because when you come back at the end of your college semester, I'm already going to have my team ready and you're going to have to beat out a player who's already here. But if I'm not a coach, if I'm telling you as a mentor, someone who wants to just give you good advice, I say you go back and get your degree. There's always going to be another opportunity. So go back at your degree, get that done, and then, we'll talk in May. So that's what I did. I mean, that's what I was going to do. So it was good to have him support that decision. And I decided to go back to Villanova, trained a little bit with the team there in the spring season, and tried to do a lot of work on my own, finished my degree, went back to New England and was on trial there for about 10 days or so. And it just, for me, it was hard for me to transition from what I was doing to that level. Already a team that's mid-season, quality players, speed of play, fitness. So I was doing fitness on my own, but it's hard to replicate fitness or translate fitness that you're doing running on your own to mind sharpness and how quick you need to be on the ball and communicating and just being confident enough to carry yourself and impose yourself in that way to kind of impress the coach. And I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. It was a tough ask at that time. So I from there, was let go from New England from the trial, and I was looking for another option. And that's when I came across some agent or representative that I met through Villanova's volunteer assistant coach, who was doing the MBA program there, the MBA grad assistant. So we went to Poland that summer, and we were trialing playing trial matches against some of the teams there that summer before their season started. And we played against LKS Łódź, which was in the second tier of the Polish side. And then we played against some other third tier teams. And again, there, like, I thought myself, Nelson Becerra, I don't know if you remember Nelson Becerra, Jake, but played for St. John's.
Yeah.
Also,
Know the name.
Yeah, exactly. He was a pretty good player. He played for Harrisburg also. So we went over there, a good amount of players. It was about 20 of us. Played against those teams, and there was myself, Nelson, and one other player who were selected to trial with the team personally. And we went to go trial, did well. We signed a contract at the end of the week for a 1-year contract with that team. And I didn't really understand what would happen from there because everything was done in Polish and the Polish representative was speaking in Polish, and we didn't have any idea of what was going on. So we just took the representative's word for it the whole time. But apparently the team was financially struggling, and for us to get our visas, we needed to go back to the US, and it was a waiting game. And then we waited there from, I think it was August to December. And that's when I was actually playing some games with in the Cosmopolitan League with the who was it? With actually Yannick Salman introduced me to the coach, to the Russian coach that you were talking about. And so I was playing with them for the fall, and December came around, end of December, and then we found out that the team was going to declare bankruptcy, so they were going to be relegated out to the 5th division. So back to square one, and I get invited out to Finland, play in Finland.
Was that through Yannick?
That was through Yannick, exactly.
Yeah,
Yannick
he played at MyPa in Finland.
Exactly, in the what was it called? What was the top league called? Veikkausliiga?
Veikkausliiga.
Yeah. So this wasn't in Veikkausliiga. This was in the second tier, but it was I'm blanking on the team's name, but now they're in Veikkausliiga. Anyway, there was one of the richer clubs in Finland. I went there, arrived, had about 2 days to get acclimated, played in my first match with them as a scrimmage, did well. I actually scored a goal in that game, and then the next day in training, I strained my quad. And getting hurt on trial is never a good sign. So strained my quad, trying to nurse it back, trying to rush it back. Let 4 or 5 days go by, tried to get back into it, hurt it again. So was let go from that trial. And then I went down to Yannick to spend some time with him, see if I could nurse it back. I think I was able to train once with them before they had a trip to some preseason trip to, I think, Portugal or Spain, I think it was. Then I actually came back home, wanted to nurse my quad a little bit more, found out about a trial with Harrisburg, went to the Harrisburg trial, was there for about a week, and they let me go after about a week. It was like the final cut before the season started. So there, I'm back home.
Harrisburg seems to be a running theme in this show.
Kev, do you remember? Do you remember any of the strikers at that trial by chance?
Andrew Welker. No, Welker was already on the team. Andrew Welker was already on the team. I know that. Strikers who were on trial in 2013. That it was. Who are you thinking of?
This guy.
You were there?
Yeah, we were together. I mean, we didn't know each other at the time.
Wait, Jay,
so
no,
I
you
was-
weren't.
I was there for 3 or 4
We weren't there at
days.
the same time.
Pretty sure it was. 'Cause I remember
Hold on.
we didn't know each other at the time, but I'm 90% sure you know that little place where we stayed, like that motel or whatever that terrible place was.
Yeah.
Remember getting breakfast in like the As You Go place? I remember
Jake, you were there.
we were there together. Yes.
I know my two room. I mean, dude. I knew my two roommates.
Yeah.
What? When we were playing in the bubble?
Yeah, in the bubble. And then we had a couple days where we went outside, maybe one day when it was nice enough. But,
I think I
but
went. Yeah.
there were so many trials there.
They were just like, it was just like a revolving door.
You
Because Christian went there, John Okafor went there, like Chris Edwards went there, like all these players were going there, and it just seemed like players were bouncing in, leaving, but like after like a day or 2 days, 3 days, people.
you couldn't learn a name. I mean, there's a reason why we didn't get introduced. Like I think I had 3 roommates. It was in a 2-bedroom or two beds, and there was a person on the floor. There's 2 beds, and there was a cot, and it was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, we were there together. Small world, and
wow.
yeah.
Dude, yeah. I mean, that was an experience.
We both got cut probably the same day or very similar days.
Probably. That was that was an experience.
Yeah.
Harrisburg. Yeah. Because I mean, just I don't know. It was just weird. I had never experienced something like that in my life, where it just seemed like they'd brought in so many guys and they were bringing so many new guys, and they were just letting them go like one by one each day. I mean, I had never seen it before. So that for me was probably one of the lowest points, right? Because that's already a year after I graduate from school, and New England happens, Poland happens, Finland happens, and now Harrisburg happens, and your confidence hurts after that. Your confidence hurts, and you actually start to question, well, maybe at what point do you give up and start to focus on a different career? So that's when I had the support of my parents and my brothers, and they told me to continue on. I spoke with Yannick. I think Yannick played a big part in me wanting to continue pushing. And I had 2 last opportunities at a combine. I had an opportunity at a combine through PSC, who I know, Alex Grendy, who played at UPenn, know him pretty well because I met him through the Rough Riders. Did the combine at PSC.
Guy too, Columbus Crew.
Yeah, he played at Columbus Crew, exactly. He messaged me and he said, "Hey, I need a few guys from the Rough Riders. Can you come to this combine?" I said, "Okay, I'll bring Dominic Sarr on. I forget who else I brought. Tyler Arnone, I think it was." So the 3 of us, we went down, did really well on the first day of the combine. I mean, it was just warm up and scrimmages. Did really well. I think Cosmos was there, and there was a team from Sweden, Luleå. And at the end of the first day, Alex told me that the Swedish coaches were interested, and also not Gio, but the assistant coach at the time for the Cosmos really liked me. I'm blanking on his name.
Aleko Eskandarian, yeah.
It was the third assistant then, maybe.
Carlos Lamosa.
I can't remember.
The guy, he's assistant coach now at, I think he's with Portland, so with Gio.
Not him. I know who you're talking about. Not him.
Yeah.
It was somebody else. Okay, so it was one of the
Carlos, you mostly used to play with Kevin in Flushing.
Did he actually?
Well, I know him because of ODP and New York ODP, and Wilmer Cabrera and Carlos know each other, so that's how I know Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
But
it all goes back to Flushing.
Yeah, it all goes back to Flushing Meadow Park. That's where everyone runs into each other. So, find out that Cosmos is interested, and I think, oh, that'd be a good opportunity. That'd be close to home. Get my bearing a little bit. But it turns out Gio actually didn't want to bring me in. He had already known me through my brother and had seen me play, I guess, and I guess he didn't sign off on it. So I went ahead and followed up on the opportunity in Sweden. Went on trial. Was about a 3 or 4 day trial because they needed to get my papers in if I was going to be able to be approved and play that fall. So flew to Sweden, feeling healthy, feeling good. Trialed for 3-4 days, did well, and started playing left back there for the rest of the season. I think played the next 10 games, did well, signed on for the following year in Sweden, in Luleå. That was third tier in Sweden. And then the following year in preseason, I got hurt again, had a quad issue, was bugging me throughout the first 1, 2, 3 months of the season. And it was really an issue for me because it's something that it's so hard to come to terms with, because you play your whole life up until you leave college and you've never had injury problems, and then all of a sudden a year and a half post graduating, all these injuries start popping up, your hamstring, your quad, keep re-injuring, and you start to think like maybe it's a sign, right? So you deal with that again, and it was a psychological battle to get over it and to kind of get your confidence back, because when you're injured and you're not playing, as a professional athlete, that's one of the worst feelings you could probably feel, because your confidence isn't improving, your position in the team isn't improving, and you're watching everyone play, and you think that I have to get healthy, I have to get fit, I have to work for my position back in the team, and there's just a lot that to think about, and a lot that just naturally poses as a barrier for you to progress. So for me, it was challenging the first half of the year, and then summertime came around, and I focused on getting my body physically fit, making sure I was doing all my prehab, got mentally right, and started to play really well towards the second half of that season. And that's when I started to go on trials around Sweden for second tier in Sweden and second tier in Norway. And then also when young Dave Harris reached out to me, messaged me. I forget which platform it was. I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram.
It was Facebook Messenger for sure. That's what this guy uses.
Is that your go-to?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that yeah? So, went on some trials in Sweden and in Norway, and it was between a team in second tier Norway and Galway. And I thought, why not try something different? Why not go to Ireland? They were just promoted, and there's another American there. It's Captain America, Jay Keegan. So thought I would give that a shot. Spoke with Dave about it. He was able to smooth everything over with the coach, put us in touch. And I think that was around middle of January. It really came, I don't know if you were already there, Jake, but it happened, or I actually signed end of January, and then needed to wait for the whole visa to get approved. And I didn't know that it took that long in Ireland, because in Sweden, you fly there, you don't even need to get approved. You just tell them, hey, it's going to get approved. So I guess immigration laws are just much more relaxed in Scandinavia than it is in Ireland. So visa got approved. I think it was end of February. Was it end of February? Yeah, I flew in, and then the next day you guys were playing a game. So flew in. I don't know if I trained or not with you guys before the game, but I think I flew in the day of the game, the day before the game, and then I just showed up to the game, and that's when got to know the guys. Needed to get fit because I was not in shape for. I needed to get approved first. I think my visa was approved, but I don't know if my pass was approved yet. I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly, but
like your ITC, your international transfer certificate thing.
Yeah, I think that was it. And so they were waiting for that to get approved, and I was getting my ass kicked by the Swedish volunteer coach there at the time. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I forgot that guy's name. He was unbelievable.
He was there for like 3 months, and then
I know we got rid of him quick.
So his job, he would just make me do like 50 to 100 burpees before games, like because I wasn't cleared to play yet. So do you
remember that session where this man, like, he had us doing running form, and he had us practicing Messi running form, and then he had us practice Ronaldo running form, and it's
I wasn't there for that.
You weren't there for that? It
No.
was one of my first sessions. It was like raining, crazy windy, disgusting. It was at Merview on the turf pitch. And he's like having us do like Ronaldo runs, which is obviously like long strides. And then we were practicing like Messi runs, and no one runs like either of these players. So we were like, what was the point of this?
Yeah.
This guy was a clown.
No, he was a character. He was a character for sure. But yeah, he would. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember why you were brought in to go away, like position-wise?
I still don't know what position I was brought in to play because, like,
it was. I thought you could fill in the Tommy was looking for like a left-footed center back.
Yeah.
And because you have played left back and left center back, I think on at least according to the ultra reliable like transfer marked or whatever.
Yeah.
And
they still have me as like
yeah.
Go ahead.
He thought he was getting like a left-footed player, and then all of a sudden, like I'm talking to him, and he's like, "He's fucking right-footed."
I can already picture it. Hey, come here, listen. He's fucking right-footed. Yeah. I mean, the first game I played in was actually.
Sorry, Tommy. He's a good player, though. The first Revolution drafted him.
the first game I played in was against Cork City at left back. I think I played like 60, 65 minutes because it'd been a while since I played in an actual game. It was okay. I mean, I think Cork was one of the better teams in that year. And you could tell like they had the experience, they had the swag, they had the possession, they had the big name players. So I think that was a cool first game to kind of get introduced to the league. After that, I think Tommy did switch me to center back. One thing that I never got a chance to get adjusted to quickly as I was getting getting my bearings in the first few games is how quick and frantic and physical the play kind of is, and I had never been exposed to that kind of style of play, and so I'm coming from Sweden where a lot of it's a really slow build up, and you don't have the kind of pressure that you see in Ireland. In Ireland, you have guys pressuring 90 minutes. Like you have Gary Shanahan who doesn't stop running, and he pressures you until you cough up the ball. He pressures you when he's on his last leg. He's running and running and running and running, and you see that on every single team. All these guys running at you 1,000,000 miles per hour, and I guess I was so against playing direct at times where I was almost being stubborn, where I wanted to possess out of these situations that were really where I should have been playing direct, where that's where like my beliefs about playing a certain way and the way I should have been playing kind of clashed and put me in some tough situations in Ireland. And I think that, coming into a new team, it's good to have a preseason under your belt because you kind of get the cobwebs out, you get comfortable, you get situated with the guys, you get your confidence, you build your confidence in the guy, you build that rapport with them, and it's easier for you to just worry about your game and kind of do your thing. And so I struggled with that early on. I think I also picked up some hamstring injury for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then came back. Wasn't playing center back anymore. Wasn't playing left back. I think OG and I'm blanking on
Stephen Walsh.
Yeah. We're playing left and right center back, and so they have me go in at outside mid, and I think I had a good game, and then had me
let's rewind. You had an unbelievable game against Bose. So
was it?
We were struggling at that time.
Was it Bose?
It was Bose. Yeah, it was Bose. And we won 5-3, and you were playing on the wing, and you were like messing, like you were just going by people. It was like we all thought you were the center back. And we were like, what is going on?
Well, here's the thing is that I think against Bose, I don't know, like, so let me preface this, the way Tommy likes to play his wingers, he likes to have full field wingers, tracking all the way back, make doggy runs all day. I can't do that. I don't have the lungs for that. Jake can do that. Gary Shanahan can do that. I can't do that. I don't have the lungs to do that. You can ask me to beat a fitness test, I'll beat a fitness test, but I think it takes a lot away from me on the attack if you have me defending so much. And so against Bose, I don't know if their outside back was so aggressive, so it allowed me to stay a little bit higher, have my breath a little bit more, so I could, save my energy for the attack. And I think that was a really fun game because, it was a lot of back and forth, but we were combining. There was a lot of opportunities, and it's so pure, and like you're enjoying yourself. You're having so much fun. You're going at players 1v1. I mean, I hadn't done that in a while, so I was just kind of enjoying it and immersed in it, and just kind of forgot about everything else. And that's really like the beauty of playing the game, is sometimes you just got to forget about everything else and just let the game take over. And I think that's where I really started to enjoy it. And that year, that was probably like the most fun I had that year. And then we played them again in like the cup.
Yeah.
And
the first in the midweek. Yeah.
Midweek, yeah. So it was like 3 or 4 days later, and I think we started off pretty well. And then I was doing, I don't know if I did a 1v1. Yeah, I did a 1v1. I played it around the player, one of their outside backs. Then this center back or D-mid came in. I slid, didn't know he was going to slide. He slid, and then his knee went right into my knee, and I had a muscle contusion on my quad. I tried to continue playing, and it just froze. It just like stiffened up on me, and I couldn't even run anymore. And then, I just asked for a sub. And, I remember being really pissed off because I thought that this was going to be a breakthrough, that I was going to, start to find my form. And then, Tommy, I really didn't know what was happening to my knee. So Tommy asked the trainer at the time, I'm forgetting, Emmett, right?
Emmett, yeah.
Emmett at the time, he's like, will he be good for the next game? And Emmett's like, yeah, I don't know why he shouldn't be. And then the next day, I had crutches on for like the next 2-3 weeks, right? So that pissed me off. And I mean, again, going back to what I went through in Sweden with the injuries, and then I'm thinking, here we go again, another injury. So I think injuries, they're challenging, and it's tough to overcome if mentally you're not tough or seasoned, or you have the experience to know what it takes to get through it and to bounce back. So for me, like, there was a part of me that wanted to get back and also, continue the same form. But then there was the other part that was thinking about, I get hit with injury after injury. I had the hamstring, I had the quad injury, I had the hamstring quad injury the year before. And each time I'm trying to catch my form, and then I get hurt. So I'm finally getting back to playing form, and finally getting back in shape and getting fit and getting cleared to play. And I think it was very immature of me, but I was a little upset when I didn't play. I wasn't nominated to start or selected to start by the coach that next game where I was cleared. I forget where it was. It was in the middle of nowhere. Do you remember that? I think.
Was it Longford when he came on as a sub?
Longford. Yeah. I was being real immature because I said, okay, he's not going to start me. I'm going to go off in the corner and do my own thing. So I started doing like my own dribbling circuit. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like the starters were warming up, dude, and I was literally in the corner like doing my own dribbling circuit. I was like, if he's not going to play me, I'm ready to play. I was being really stubborn and immature, and he's not going to play me, and I'm ready to play. Then I'm going to go and put my work in on my own over here. So it was like a training session on my own. I remember finishing that and being gassed, and I'm like, oh crap, this is much more tiring than I thought it would be. I think it was also pretty hot that day. So we go in, Longford, and I come off the bench, and I had a horrible game. I remember that. Didn't play well. I think we were winning 1-0, and then, I had some. Right?
We still won the game.
You won the game. Yeah, you won the game, and I think I maybe had like one good play where I like took on a player and I crossed you the ball in the box. But as far as that, like, I think that I was getting the ball and I just felt sluggish, lost the ball at one time, and then confidence dropped after that. Playing outside mid, confidence dropped after that. and then couldn't really get my foot in the game, and had a poor showing. I think after that, just talking with the head coach, my confidence started to drop a little bit, just because I felt like he had lost faith in me. And for me, it was I wanted to earn my spot back in the team. I wanted to make sure I was fit. I didn't want to make sure that happened again. So I was doing fitness after training or for a few weeks straight with like Davey and Sam Koji.
Was Killian in there too? Killian, maybe?
Killian, he might have. I think Killian, because Killian was hurt, wasn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was coming back from injury at some point.
Yeah, he was coming back from injury. So doing some extra fitness. And I think Tommy, after that game, I fell out of favor with him. And then he had brought in some other player at outside mid, played him, and we had played against Shamrock right at home.
Yep.
And then I came in against Shamrock in the second half, and that's where I had a pretty good game, and I guess I fell back into favor, and now I'm back in the mix. Started the next game against Sligo away.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, it was so weird. I mean, I was only like second year as a pro, but like there's all these things that I'm thinking about that I feel like I shouldn't be thinking about, but maybe it's natural for a young player to think about them. And I feel like the head coach tells me one day he doesn't want me. Then the next day he's like, no, I like you. Like, I need you here. So for me, it was a lot to kind of sit through. Yeah.
Kevin, at that time, his assessment was he's fucking better. Was it? He's fucking better vertical than he is horizontal.
They're vertical. Does that mean he can head the ball? Is that what that means?
I don't know. That's how he does it, but you have to ask him.
Yeah. So the game with Sligo goes on, right? And I remember thinking, I'm having a pretty good game. Sligo's a pretty good team. And we go in at halftime, and I get like a boost of confidence from what I think you were the one that reminded me of this after the game, Jake, is like, he said you were going to win us the game. Like, essentially, he's like, Kevin's like, we're going to get a goal, and I think it's going to come from him. And I was like, oh shit. That's
like me? What? No.
Like, what? Like last week you were telling me to piss off, and now I'm gonna win the game for you. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And then I think he took me out because I told him I was having some pain in my stomach, but I didn't ask for a sub. Like I told him, like, yeah, at halftime there was something bothering me, but I think he at minute 65 he wanted to change the rhythm, so took me out and said I played a good game, but I think we ended like 1-1 or 0-0, whatever it was. We tied that.
That was 1-1, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a decent showing, right? So I'm starting to get my confidence back, and we played a game 3 or 4 days later. And this is when, I was talking to you, Jake, is like my body still hasn't recovered, and I'm asking Jake, I'm like, have you recovered yet? And you're like, yeah, I feel good, but you're freaking Captain America, so you recover.
Yeah, that was
after a day.
That was back when I was 24. Those days are gone. So.
Jeez. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm wearing my tights, I'm hydrating, I'm trying to figure out what can I do to get me ready for my next game, which is going to be the most important game of the year for me, which is going to be against Dundalk at home. And I start against Dundalk, and they had the right back at the time. Jake, you're much better with names than I am.
Sean Gannon. This man just bombs up and down. He was the best right back.
He just runs.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to try to defend him, and I'm going to try to run back as much as I can. But I remember there was one play where he had played to them. He got the ball, took a touch to the inside, and just bombed forward. And I didn't track all the way back, and Tommy ripped into me, right? And I think from then on, I just played very defensive, and my ability to play forward was just non-existent. I wasn't giving much going forward. I was more just trying to control Gannon, right? He turned me into a defender. So that was I think that was the game where I lost my spot and lost my position in the team, and that's when I couldn't see myself progressing in the team anymore, because I'd spoken with Tommy after the game, and it just seemed like we weren't There was a lot of pressure that year to perform, and it just seemed like we weren't going to work together going forward. So from there, I think another 3 weeks went by, and left Galway and ended up going to third tier team in Sweden, Västerås, which is like an hour away from Stockholm.
Yeah, just before we go to that, I think, Galway fans are pretty much the only people that listen to this podcast. So if they're listening, I think what you don't understand from the outside is, like, you could say, oh, Kev, you came in and whatever, didn't do well. But the different factors that go into performing at a club, especially when you're a foreigner, like, you show up late to preseason. The coach thought you were left-footed. You're not. Yeah. You can't change that. He has you first, you're playing left back. Then you move to center back. To even take out the injuries, forget about it. Then you go to center back. And then he has you playing on the left wing, which you've never played really in your life. And you had, what I find is when I'm asked to play positions that I don't regularly play, I can play one good game or two good games. But it's very difficult to sustain that form for more than a couple games, because at the beginning it's fun and exciting. I'm going out, people 1v1, but in your case, you just don't have the lungs to play in the wing. In my case, like, maybe I don't have the technical ability to play in midfield, whatever it is. Like, it's so difficult to maintain that form week after week. And it's the position that you were in was just like, borderline unfair. Not unfair, because that's football, but like, it bordering on unfair. And as players, we all knew what you could have provided us, like the other guys on the team. And I just think the circumstance was very, very, very difficult for you. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jake. I think that that exchange I had with Tommy there, and that whole experience at Galway, I wish it would have been better. There's nothing more than I would have wanted than for me to exceed expectations and to help the team, be one of the top teams in the league. But I tried, and I tried to acclimate, and I tried to catch a rhythm. I tried to continue to build on confidence. And, it's not that I didn't want to, it's not that I had lazy tendency. It's just that, I couldn't measure up to playing the outside mid that I guess he envisioned me playing as. And where I started to settle in more was playing in the back. And that's how I got my foot into the MLS, is where I started playing in the back. I relied on my experience and my composure with the ball and my communication skills, and I was able to kind of grow in as a player more playing in defense than I ever could in midfield, because I don't have the stamina, I don't have the endurance to play at outside mid, especially in a team where the outside mids are put into as almost just run doggies all day, attack forward, attack back. You can have Gary Shanahan do that all day long. I'm not the kind of player to do that. So, I do feel for, how that experience panned out. But I think it did teach me something. I think it built some character in me. It made me go through some adversity. And I kind of had to build my confidence back, because after that experience, I was really struggling. To recover from that. And when I went to Sweden, I started to build my confidence little by little, and that's when, after Sweden, I, called Wilmer Cabrera, who was taking on a position at RGVFC, not even to play for RGVFC, but I had an offer to go play in Colombia, in the second tier in Colombia. And I asked Wilmer, like, hey, Wilmer, what do you think about this team? I said, I remember them. I scored 2 goals against them. No, he said I scored 2 own goals against them. And he said that the fans were cheering him on whenever he touched the ball. He was at the away. He was at their stadium playing away, and he scored 2 goals against them in his first game as a professional. I think it was first game as a professional. First year as a professional for sure. He was like 16, 17 years old. Scored 2 goals against his own team, and they were cheering whenever they had he had the ball. He actually wanted his coach to take him out, and his coach was like, "No, you're staying in. Get in there and take it like a man." So he told me about that experience. That was pretty cool. But he told me in Colombia, listen, it's a great league. Go ahead.
Just really quick, before we jump into that, two other things that came up like during that time in Galway were like first before or around the same time. I think around the same time, like I was talking to Tommy about you. I think that that company with Alex, the PSC, had done a combine in Ireland, and we were talking at the time because Zach Lubin was there. And
Zach
Tommy
Lubin, he was on trial with Cork. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy went to look at him because Cork weren't going to keep him. And I remember talking to you about him, and I remember you saying that he's the type of guy that, you know, I mean, this really plays into the perseverance because he's the type of guy that might not impress on a trial, but like over time, you know, and obviously that, you know, Tommy passed on him. He just didn't see him in the evaluation he did of him, but, you know, he didn't see, what he thought was a really good keeper. But like, you know, obviously Zach's had a really good career, persevered. And the other thing was around that time, he also had Alex DeJean was over there trying out, and Tommy passed on him. I think for you, and then Alex goes and plays into really good club in Norway.
He went
literally like what was it like the next year?
Was that 2013?
This was 2015.
Around the time you were
2015.
I know Alex.
Yeah,
I know Alex. I know Alex's journey just because I know Yannick Smith, and I remember following and seeing like updates. So he started with Kemi King's third tier in Finland with Joey Spivak. They were there, and I think he jumped after that season from third tier to first tier and played in Veikkausliiga, and then from there. Veikkausliiga, he went to Norway. Played in Norway, top tier.
He went from a trial
what happened, Kev, I think, is
start in Norway.
He played the second year in Finland in the Veikkausliiga, and then he had to make a decision between Norway. I think he was in second division Norway at first, and Galway. Okay. And then he obviously ended up going to Norway. They got promoted. He went to the top division in Norway. And then he ended up going, what was the next? Sweden, right?
Maybe top league in Sweden, yeah.
Top league in Sweden, and then he went to Orlando City, where he just left. Actually, they just let him go. But
they did.
It's crazy, like the names, like of those four players. If I'm being perfectly honest with myself, Zach Lubin, Kevin Garcia, and Alex DeJean, and myself, four players that Tommy had to look at with Galway. You three have had better careers than me, and for whatever reason,
you've had a prolific career. How many goals have you scored? You've definitely scored like over 100 goals by this point.
But you guys have all like you played in MLS. You've done all it. But my point isn't like you whatever. I'm not good or you guys are great. That's not the point. The point is like the game is so subjective, and one manager can see a player and trust a player and give him all this belief, like he did with me. Yeah. And I can do all these great things with Galway. And another player who's similar in level, maybe a little better, a little worse, doesn't matter. If he doesn't treat him the same way, doesn't give him that belief, then he doesn't have the success. Or if he doesn't even, in Zach and Alex's case, doesn't even sign him. But
I think having the vote of confidence from the coach is massive in how a player performs.
The thing with Alex, I think the thing with Alex was that the height. He didn't think that he was tall enough.
But he could jump through a roof. He's so athletic. I've seen his highlights. I've seen him jump over a freaking player. I know. Are you going to pass over? Are you going to pass up Cannavaro? I mean, come on. I mean, no, I'm just saying, like there. No. Of course, no. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, but it's. I mean, some players are favored, and some coaches like other players because they bring certain attributes or certain style of play to their game.
You were taller.
And I was taller, yeah, exactly.
You were tall and left-footed.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, but even so, like, even if I'm not technically naturally left-footed, I still played left-footed for RGV. I still played left-footed for all the other teams. I still played on the left side of the field, so I was able to make it work. It's just I wasn't naturally left-footed, but. Even playing with RGV, being the captain in the first year, played on the left back and left center back the whole year, and then got signed to after the summer, after we had played Sporting Kansas City second team. I think it was Swope, right? and they actually brought down 9 first-team guys to play against us. We were undefeated. We had gone like 7 games without losing, all shutouts, and they brought down 9 guys. And I was going up against Ricky Rubio. That's his name?
Yeah. He's with San Diego now. San Diego Oil, right? Is that him?
He was in Colorado.
Oh, Colorado? I'm thinking of a different guy.
The Uruguayan, the international. Anyway, he was with Kansas City, and so like he's playing right mid, and I'm playing left back, and we end up winning that game 2-0. And after that game is when I signed for the Dynamo as like a left back, like left back, right back, center back. And so like I know that like I've played on the left side of the field my whole entire life. It's for whatever reason, my left foot was always better than the right-footed players who were on the teams that I was on. I wasn't naturally left-footed, but like I'm able to navigate the ball pretty well with my left foot, like better than the average left foot. So I had to use that to my advantage, and that's how I was able to continue playing left back, left center back when I transitioned from RGV to MLS. And continue to work on it, continue to work on hitting long balls with my left foot, passing with my left foot, dribbling out with my left foot. And you embrace that. You embrace playing on the left side. And even when I was playing with other players like Alejandro Fuenmayor or Felipe Senderos and these other players, they would put me on the left side because I could maneuver the ball pretty well with my left foot. And so I just kind of grew into that and accepted that maybe I'm not naturally left-footed, but I can still get the job done with using my left foot and being on the left side of the pitch. But like what you're saying, Jake, is like, yeah, like I think your year is it's crazy how so much power falls into the one person's decision-making ability, because your words or how you support players or what you think of them or the feedback you give them has such an impact on a player and what he thinks and how his confidence is in that year and in that moment. Because I've known players who, with being within the Houston Dynamo, that came from teams where they were doing really well, successful years, successful season. They come to Dynamo, they play one game, fall out of favor, they don't play anymore. They're cut middle of the year, or they're just cut at the end of the year. They go to another MLS team and then they light it up again. Right. So it really, I think confidence and having someone that believes in you is so important. And yeah, I think players need to have confidence themselves, but it doesn't hurt to have the coach believing in you also, and also putting you in situations where you believe in yourself and having positive, constructive feedback where you can progress as a player and you see a future for yourself. So I think that like confidence for me is the most important thing as a player.
So how transitioning now? I mean, you went to Västerås. You helped the club stay up. They were bottom when you got there in Sweden, and then you move on with Wilmer to RGV, and then eventually to the Dynamo. How much did his role in your development, how much did his belief in you help you progress forward from the USL team? And then eventually he was with the Dynamo. Then he signed you with the Dynamo, and you ended up playing for 3 full seasons, and then that fourth one. So you've got 4 MLS years under your belt. After a year prior, you get let go from Galway, who is towards the bottom of the top division in Ireland. It's a big difference in level.
That is a big difference.
And you go from that low to then you're playing games against, you're marking Zlatan, the Zlatan himself. You're winning. You came on the 30th minute of the Open Cup final. Yeah. You win that game with the Dynamo, and you have these crazy great memories and great accomplishments. And not too long before, it's honestly, when me, Gary, and Killian were talking after you left, we're like, he got screwed here, and we're like, we feel bad for you. We're like, fuck, what's gonna happen to this poor guy? Because we don't know. And the ascension that you had after that point, I don't know many people in any profession that can do that after being so down to going so up. So I guess that's a long-winded question, but how much did Wilmer's role play in you?
I think it played a big role. Well, first going from Ireland to Sweden, I think that obviously the style of play in Sweden is much slower, much more fits into my personality and my style of play. But I mean, it was good for me to be exposed to that type of game. And I always struggle this back to Ireland because MLS can be like that too. MLS can be physical and it can be direct. And you have I'm blanking on the Colombian from Barrios from Dallas. Like I had to mark him one day, and you have to mark really speedy wingers and players who are really direct. So I think that being exposed to that environment in Ireland did help me, and it did help improve me as a player because it exposed me to physicality, exposed me to a lot of adversity with dealing with injuries and dealing with a lot of demand from the coach and from the staff, and also just the environment that you just have to go up against, and it's just not an easy environment. So I think it was good to have that blend of Sweden, Scandinavian football, and Irish football. So from when I went to Ireland, like I said, like my confidence was hurt, and I needed to kind of find myself a little bit. And Sweden slowly started to inch my way back and started to grow confidence more and more in each game. And, got that from the players and from the coach. And the coach, I think I had one training where I played really well, like better than any training I'd had. And he actually like pointed out at the end of the training and to the whole group, he was like, and that's how you're supposed to train. And that's how I want to see you play. And for me, that was just like a breath of fresh air. It's like, here's someone that believes in me again. And, I'm going to own this and I'm going to build on that. And so I continued to play played left back, and actually used me like D mid, left back, and center back one game. But majority I played left back. Did well there. And then I wanted to either come back home or, give a shot in Colombia, because I talked to my parents and they were really excited about the opportunity in Colombia. So I wanted
for those who don't know, you are Colombian.
I am Colombian, yeah. Some Colombian roots.
The YouTube viewers may see the resemblance, but if you're listening on Apple Podcasts,
when I was in Ireland watching you guys play, I went up to the game. I was with
Which game was it? Which game was it, David?
Dundalk away.
Oh yeah. I play center back?
Yeah, you started. I believe.
Oh, yeah, I gave up a PK that game, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That wasn't a PK. That wasn't a PK. Dude, that wasn't a PK. I'm like livid to this day about that call.
But I was sitting, there watching the game, and some guy from fans from the dock, they're like, it looks like he's an Iraqi.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, oh God.
It's all right. Yeah, I mean, with the darker skin complexion, I do get that. With the beard nowadays, I mean, it's easy to make the comparison. But
well, it's the Irish.
But that was, yeah. But that, I mean, yeah, that was like aside from the PK, that was a good. I thought like we went in 0-0, right?
Yeah, then they scored 3 goals in like 10 minutes. Richie Towell scored a hat trick in like 5 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I was there for the Limerick game too. I thought you played I really enjoyed watching you play with
Limerick. Was that at home?
Yeah, we won 3-2 that game. Enda scored twice, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys bagged some goals that year, I remember.
Yeah. But anyway, back to so Colombia back on point here. We can go back to Ireland and talk about stories forever.
Yeah.
So you obviously took the opportunity with Wilmer, and
so Wilmer. So I'm going on Wilmer, and he's like, well, Colombia's a great opportunity. A lot of good players there, but the pay isn't that stable. If the club is doing well, you'll get paid. If the club isn't doing well, they could hold out pay or just not pay you. I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. So he said, listen, why don't you come over here? I'm building my own team with RGV. And I know Wilmer, for those who don't know, I know Wilmer. He was my state team coach, ODP, back when ODP, much back when ODP was much bigger. When I was 14, 15 years old. I met Wilmer, and he was my ODP coach. And then from there, I had him at Gachi for about 2 years before he took on the head coaching role with the U17 national team. And so I had stayed in touch with Wilmer just because, I really enjoyed him as a coach, and he was somewhat of a mentor to me through those high school years, and I was able to, just every now and then catch up with him. And I thought, well, Colombia, he played in the league, and I, should probably call him and see how he's doing, and then ask him about this team, and if it would be a good opportunity for me. And so that's when he told me that Houston Dynamo was starting a second team, RGVFC, down in McAllen. And it was the feeder team to the MLS. And he said, the plan is you come here under me, and we're going to build a good team. We're going to do well. And the end goal is for me to get you up there. I want players to come here and not be settled, not be complacent with being here. Like, the whole point is get here, do what you have to do, impress, and then go to the first team. And I said, okay. So I wanted a direct path to the MLS, and that was the most direct path that I could see at the time, with a coach that I believed in and that I knew believed in me. And so going in there, and I mean, he'd seen me play in like a few clips, but he hasn't seen me play in person since probably high school. So it'd been a while. And so I show up, we do preseason there, and I'm in form, I'm getting confidence, and I'm probably the oldest guy in the team. I'm 25 years old, and they bring in all these guys who are first year out of college or just graduated high school through the Dynamo Academy. And they're bringing in a bunch of young guys, a few international guys who are young. And I start to look at the team we got, and we got a young team, but very talented team, very technical, very coachable, all good guys, hardworking guys. And I'm like, we can build something special here. And Wilmer, at the end of the season, ended up naming me captain of the team that year. And we went on to finish second place in the conference behind Sacramento. I think we finished like a point behind them. And Wade Barrett at the time was the head coach of Houston Dynamo. And I started to gain confidence in the preseason with RGVFC, going into the first game. Second game, we started to accumulate some shutouts, started to settle more in as a left-sided center back. And then that's when the Dynamo brought me in as for a training stint with Jose Escalante at the time. And they brought me in for that one camp in, I think it was March. And then again in the summertime, I might have been there for like 4 weeks on and off. And then at the end of the summer is when I signed under Wade Barrett. Dynamo had a few injured defenders, and so they were a little light. And so they wanted to bring me in. That after seeing me that summer, they signed me. And, I finished out the year. I dressed for a few games, but never got the opportunity to play that year. And then that's when Wade Barrett, who was the interim coach at the time, had to step down, and Wilmer was named as the head coach for the next year. And for me, in MLS, it's very demanding. I think every single training, every single game, you're being evaluated, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So heading into the end of that year, I still didn't know if I was going to be coming back, just because I didn't play. And I know I had a good year with RGV, but I didn't play at the end of the year. They didn't use me at all, so I didn't know if they were going to bring me back, or if they just brought me in for that end of the season. So I get invited back for the preseason, still under contract, and play predominantly as a right back. They don't even have me playing as a center back anymore. They have me playing as a right back and playing as a left back also, because DeMarcus Beasley hadn't arrived yet. They were still negotiating some contract details. So it was me and Dylan Remick, who had just come from Seattle, playing left back, and AJ De La Garza and George Malky playing right back. So those are the outside backs. And I think our center backs were international veteran guys. So I was playing outside back, and that was when George Malky got hurt and AJ got hurt. And opportunity came up for me to play against Minnesota United. Came in right after halftime. They had converted Boniek Garcia. I think he was playing right back. And Boniek, he's a very good player, very smart, played for the Honduran national team, but doesn't know the outside back position that well. So they needed someone who knew the position. And I was there on the bench, and Wilmer said, I need a right back right now. Can you play here right now? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So he puts me in. He said, just be confident, play forward, and trust yourself. And so I went in, and I think the first play I had was I dispossessed one of the players, and then like I escaped with the ball and he fouled me. So I think right there, confidence just went up. And we were tied 2-2, and I started attacking and going forward, combining with some of the players. And my confidence was just growing from that game on. And I think I played like the last 40 minutes of that game, and I felt great. And then I had won my position to start the next game against San Jose. So started against San Jose, and I had a very good game, and we won 2-0. We shut it out, and I'll never forget this moment after the game. It was our first shutout of the year, and I think it was like game 7 or game 8 of the year. And then we're all like hugging each other in the locker room, like congrats. And then Beasley comes up to me. It's like, I think you got the MVP of the game. That was a freaking awesome game. That's what I like to see. Good shit. I don't know if I can.
You can curse. You can curse.
It's like good shit. That's what I like to see. And Beasley, at that time, I hadn't had a very vocal relationship with him. Like he was my locker mate, but it was just like very professional relationship. And I think after that, like for Beasley, kind of got to earn his respect first, and then he starts to open up to you a little bit more. He starts to converse and just be a little bit more friendly. So I think after winning his respect and performing and coming to him for advice about positioning and like how he thinks I should be in a certain situation, kind of helped me develop more of a bond and actually grow more in confidence as a player, continue to build on that confidence. So that first year, AJ came back and he was the sure starter. Beasley played the majority, and Beasley and Dylan Remick alternated with left back. And I was never even training as a center back, which was weird to me because I had played center back the year before with RGV, and that's when I was probably playing my best football. And I continued to train, was doing really well. I was actually really frustrated, I remember. I was frustrated because I was training really well. And I think US Open Cup, I was doing well. And we played against Sporting KC in US Open Cup and had some charity games in the summertime. And I had done really well as an outside back, and the feedback from the coaching staff was positive. And I was wondering, why am I not playing? But I just didn't have the experience. AJ been in the league for 9 years at the time, played with LA Galaxy, played in championships. He was always going to get the nod ahead. So I guess I was just wanted something else to work for it. I wanted to get rewarded in some way. And it came when AJ got, I think, 5 yellows, and I was asked to play against the derby match against FC Dallas. And that was a high score. That wasn't a high scoring game, but it was 3-3. It was started off 1-0, and they came back and scored 2 goals before the half, and then scored 1 goal, I think, in the second half, and we're down 3-1. And I'm going up against Barrios, and he's one of the best wingers, I think, in MLS. He's speedy, he's crafty, he's technical, he's able to turn you in and out. And so I had to get really physical with him and make sure that I wasn't overly aggressive, because it's like his movement is so quick where he makes you jab in and he's just already gone. So you have to really adjust how you defend to the opponent you're going up against. And he's one of the guys where I had him in the second half, where if he had you faced up against him, you really had to just like contain him and not jab him, because his feet are so quick that he can just get off a shot in less than a second. So we ended up tying up that game in like the last 15 minutes. So it ended up 3-3. Again, thought I had a good game at the end of the year. I didn't play for the rest of the year, but was on the bench because I offered that versatility and that option to play any position in the back line. So they had me on the bench for probably the rest of the season. And then once we got to the playoffs, I think AJ tore his ACL that in like the last game of the year, and then Jaleel Anibaba came in and played right back. And I asked the head coach about that. And in my end of year meeting, Jaleel, great guy, athletic, good player, experienced in the league, been in the league since, 2011, 2010. And Jaleel just had experience over me, and they weren't going to put in an inexperienced guy who had just played 3 MLS games to start the playoffs. And so I was frustrated, of course, as any player would be, but I did understand it. But at the end of the year, they told me I'd done well, and that next year they would want me to really fight for a starting role since AJ is going to be out with the ACL injury. So he said, "Are you going to step up to the plate, or are you going to be happy and content with where you are?" And so the following year, I came in with a fresh mentality, hungry, ready to play, and just eager to continue growing and wanting to leave my mark and continue to progress in the league. And in preseason, I think it goes between George Malky, myself, and another player they had brought in, I think from Trinidad and Tobago at right back. And I had done well. I had done well at right back. Had a couple assists in preseason, and was fit, was feeling good, was communicating well with the back line at the time. It was Machado and Felipe Senderos and DeMarcus Beasley. And we were doing well in preseason. We were doing well. We were defending well as a unit. We were communicating. I was talking with Albert Elise in front of me, who's just great to have, because you don't have left backs attacking too much with Albert Elise on your side, because he's constantly going at players 1v1, and he's just a menace to deal with his pace. So it was always good to have him in front of me, and I communicated really well with him. We understood each other really well. So going into the season, we were playing Atlanta United first game of the year. And I think that was their second year. And they had, who did they have? They had Joseph Martinez, and they also had, they had just signed, what was the record fee for that player?
What's his name?
Not PT, the other one.
The guy from Newcastle. Is it Newcastle now?
No, not him. What? Miggy. Miguel, but he played, but there was another player that was there that they just paid like 18 million for him. He was like one of the highest paid players. Anyway, he was supposed to play. He was supposed to play against me on my side at right back, but he got taken out because he wasn't approved in time. I think he was either injured or his visa wasn't approved yet. So I had to go up against Miggy, the one playing for Newcastle.
Yeah.
He is rapid. He is so fast. Unbelievable. But first, we go into Atlanta United, and they have Garza and they have Miggy right in front. And I have to go up against him, but he's playing a lot more inside as an outside mid to give room for Garza to run, which I didn't understand, because I thought Miggy, with his pace, he could have probably done better just staying out wide. But I mean, I guess that's their style of play. He wanted him to come in. The coach probably wanted Miggy to come in so Garza can go around. And so that actually yeah. And so I think it worked in my favor, because him coming inside, I was just able to pass him on to either the D mid or the center back, and I was able to stay in my position. There were a couple times where we had to square up, and I just had to get really physical with him. I mean, that was always my thing with these really technical players. It's like, I got to get really physical, make them uncomfortable, and make sure that they think twice about wanting to go down my side. And so with him, I know his capability. I know what he can do. I want to make sure I can get physical with him and turn him back, or get him to, not go down my side. So in the first half, I think he had a pretty good run where I had stepped up to Garza. He went to the inside. There was some kind of combination, and he was sprung into the back. And that's when I saw his pace for the first time, and he took off. And so I'm chasing back. I'm working back to cut off the cross. He crosses it. It just misses Josef Martinez. And from then on, I think it was 0-0. And then we score, I think, on a throw-in, through ball, goal, 1-0. And then a few minutes later, corner kick, goal, 2-0. And then another free kick, boom, goal, 3-0. We're like, shit, this just happened in like 25 minutes and we're already up 3-0. So we go into the half, I think. No, we don't go into that 3-0. I think Darwin Surin scores the last goal. Darwin Surin scores the last goal. I think it's on another corner or another free kick. Scores the last goal. It's 4-0 going into the half. And we're just growing in confidence. I mean, Albert is a pain to deal with. We have Romel Kyoto too. We have Mauro Manotas there too. So, I mean, we have a lot of pieces on the team that can just make you pay if you make mistakes or if you fall asleep for a second. And I think Atlanta came in feeling overconfident, thinking that they were going to beat us. And when we play at home, it's not easy to beat us at home. I think that's part of our success of our home record is we usually win with the crowd, and we just feel better playing in that environment. So, I mean, MLS in general, I mean, it's hard to play on the road in MLS. It's kind of difficult for any team unless you're, I don't know, like an LAFC or one of the, like a Toronto, like one of the teams that are usually at the top of the table each year. But it's hard to travel in this league, and I think Atlanta was caught flat-footed, and we just kind of punched them in the face, 4-0 going into the half. And then to start the second half, there was a PK. I think there was a handball. I think Philippe had a handball or a foul, and Joe Willis came up with the big save. And from then on, it was just smooth sailing. It wasn't that much of a threat. And you know, I think I had a really good showing that game, and that kind of helped me build my confidence that year, and knew that I could play at this level and I could do it against the best. And you know, I think as a player, when you have something like a moment like that and you're rewarded, and it just does so much for your confidence and so much for excitement and your goals and your mentality going forward, that you're just hungry. You get hungry. You don't get complacent. You want to set new goals. You're like, you have this refreshed sense of identity, this refreshed sense of purpose, and you want to continue to build on that. I think the next game, I didn't play that next game, so I was benched that game. I had to chat with the head coach, and he told me that we want to cycle in Leonardo. We want to keep him fit because Felipe Senderos is he's our leader on the team, but his hamstrings aren't like they used to be when they were young. So he's very injury prone. So we were cycling in Leonardo from LA Galaxy, who had come the year before. We want to keep him fresh and make sure he's game fit, because the second Felipe goes down, we want to make sure Leonardo's in. So they put Machado in at right back, and they put Leonardo in at center back with Felipe Senderos. And I didn't play that game. And then I actually tweaked my hamstring playing Rondo right before the Vancouver Whitecaps game, and it was such an unusual feeling, because I know what it's like to pull a hamstring and strain a hamstring. This was a pain in like the high hamstring area right below the glute. And it was just so hard for me to understand how to recover from it, because it never happened to me before. But it's also a really hard area to treat, and this is what I learned from the athletic trainers. So I'm playing Rondo, and it's very slippery, and a pass gets through, and I stretch the ball to try to get the other side of the pass, and my hamstring just gets too extended, and I feel the pain in the high hamstring area. And so I'm here thinking, and I'm grabbing it, and the athletic trainer's looking at me. He's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I don't know, I just feel some pain in my hamstring right now." And, you know, I just shrug it off, go in, you know, we start the game. We start off, I think we are losing 1-0 after the half. And I think it's 1-1 going into the half. Philippe Senderos has to get taken out because his hamstring and hips are hurting him or bothering him. I think he comes up with an injury. So I'm going in, Machado Leonardo going in at center back, and I'm going in at outside back. And I'm able to warm my body up, able to warm my hamstring up, and I'm going up. And I'm actually playing against Alphonso Davies that game. Who, it's crazy because you're going up against Miguel Almiron, who's probably the fastest guy in the league, along with Alphonso Davies, who you have to face the next game. And Breck Shea was also there. So you had Alphonso Davies playing left back and Breck Shea playing left mid. And I went in to start the second half. And we lost that game 2-1. I think, I went up, I crossed it. The ball was cleared, and Breck Shea stayed up high. And there was like a give and go, and he was in one-on-one with the keeper. So we ended up losing that 2-1. And then the next game, I was struggling with, I started to struggle with my hamstring. I got it warm for the game against DC United. First half went in, had a solid first half, and then second half, going into the locker room and coming back out, I was struggling to get it warm again, and it started to get stiff and cold, and it was really anchoring me down. And we went into the half 2-0, and then we actually finished that game. We were 2-1, and in the last minute, I think they had a free kick. We cleared a header. They headed it back in, and I want to say it was some player on the back post who was kept onside by one of our other defenders, headed it back in, and they tied it 2-2. I think after that game, I needed to recover from my hamstring because I know I wasn't going to continue. I wasn't going to be able to continue and play at the level that they needed me to play at unless I got treated and got back to 100%. It actually took me from there until when we played Real Salt Lake, end of May, I think, to recover. So you're talking about middle of March to end of May. It took 2.5 months to recover from that because I tried to get back into it maybe 3 or 4 weeks later when we traveled to San Jose, but I got hurt the day before San Jose trying to extend and sprint because that's where I usually have the issue, and where it re-aggravates is when I'm trying to sprint. And so I'm trying to sprint because obviously I'm going to have to sprint into the game. So I have to test that. I really have to test it here, and my strides are really long. So I needed to really test it, and I tried it in training, and that's when I reheard it again, and I started to feel that feeling that I felt after Vancouver. And so that's when I had to nurse it again, and that's when we were going through a lot of injuries myself, Philippe Senderos, Jared Watts. We had a few injuries on the team. A lot of the defenders were getting hurt, and AJ torn ACL. So we had like 4 defenders out. Came back, and Andrew Wenger was playing right back. And so we had a game where Jared Watts was actually at Real Salt Lake. That's my first game back. He had a head concussion heading into the first half. And that's when I'm told to come in, play in, and I come in as a center back. This is the first time I played center back since RGV in 2016. Play a good game against Real Salt Lake. And then after that, play against Montreal, and had a really good game against Montreal as well as a center back. And then from there, go back to playing a few games at outside back in US Open Cup. Played a right back against Minnesota United in a really humid and hot game in Houston. It might have been, high 90s and close to 100% humidity. And the game, I don't know why it was in the middle of the afternoon. It was like around 4 or 5 o'clock. And in Houston, you usually want to schedule the games for 7 o'clock. So it's a little bit cooler, and just the quality of the play is a little bit better. And I'll never forget this because I'm playing right back, and I'm going up against Darwin Quintero, right? Another peachy midfielder to go up against, forward to go up against. But he, for some reason, just embraced that environment, loved the humidity, loved the heat, and was just running. He's a very good player. I mean, you guys have seen him play. He's a special player. And I struggled that game. I think that was one of the worst games I had played in my recent memory at the time. And I struggled to recover from that game just because I knew of how well we won that game, but I just knew how much I should have performed. I knew how well I should have performed, and I knew that I can't get comfortable or complacent, or had to make sure to keep hydrating. I was dehydrated by halftime. I wasn't prepared mentally. I wasn't prepared physically. I wasn't. The game demanded me to be 100% ready, and I just wasn't there. And I'm paired up with Darwin Quintero, and he was able to take advantage. And I think he beat me on like 3 1v1s, and it was just, I just felt very sluggish. I just wasn't myself, and I knew I wanted to just forget about that game. And it kind of took me a while to win back Warmer's trust after that game. I think it happened second week of June, and then about a month later is when I played against Colorado, and I made sure to be on my game. I made sure to hydrate. I made sure to make my body ready, stretch, sleep, eat the right things. I made sure because this is going to be my next opportunity. And the most recent game in memory was that game against Minnesota United. So I then played against Colorado. We played 5 at the back, had a good game. That game started to get good feedback from the coaches. And then played one more game at right back against Red Bull. Had a solid game against Red Bull. I think we lost 1-0 away at Red Bull. And then I had actually had a conversation with one of the assistant coaches at the time at Dynamo, who said AJ was already coming back from injury. And so they had AJ back. They had all these other players back. And they said that it was going to be really tough for me to find playing time now unless, I like really showed out in a game. But that this was going to be the pecking order because they had all the guys back healthy. And then in a matter of, 4 days, Felipe gets hurt, Leo Ribeiro gets hurt, and also one other center back gets hurt. Jared tweaks something, but Jared's starting the next game with Alejandro Fuenmayor, and Jared can't continue. So I go in against Portland. We end up beating Portland, I think 4-1. Carry that momentum into the next game, play against Orlando, play center back. We tie 0-0, and then we come back home, and I think that's the game where we played U.S. Open Cup final. And so they wanted to see if Felipe Senderos. Felipe Senderos is a special player. Whenever we can get him on the field, we're going to get him on the field. He's a leader, and we really relied on him that year to kind of, with his experience and with his communication and just with his presence on the field, he just brings such a big boost to the group. And so I thought I was going to be starting the U.S. Open Cup final, but knowing that Felipe was coming back, I thought maybe he was going to start off the game. And so we start off the game with Felipe Senderos, and I think we go up 2-0 in the first half, and Felipe has hamstring issues in the 35th or 40th minute, and that's when I'm told to warm up. And we're playing against Philadelphia, and they're in the first in the East, so it's a really important game. It's a U.S. Open Cup final, probably the most important game of my career, because I think it really helped having those 2 games at center back to really prepare me for this, where I was really starting to gain more confidence, felt fit, felt good, was getting good feedback from the captains on the team and from the coaching staff. And heading into the Open Cup final, I felt confident knowing that if Felipe goes down hurt, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do my job. And so I don't even think about the pressure. I don't think about where I've come from. I just think about, I need to come in right now and I need to help my team win. And I go in 40th minute, and the stadium is packed with fans. But you just, at that point, you learn to tune them out. I think it helped being in front of packed stadiums before, and in that moment, because it was U.S. Open Cup final, I knew it was on the line. I knew that I needed to show up and show that I could deliver, especially at this level. And I came in, and we closed it out. We ended up winning 3-0 against Philadelphia, and I think that at the end of that game is when it all came back to me, everything that I go through, that you go through, that every other player goes through, you just kind of have a moment that it just all rushes forward, and it all goes through your mind of all the adversity you've gone through, all the BS you've had to put up with, all the injuries. It's all for this moment right here. And, I just fell to the ground and just felt such appreciation for the game and everyone who had been a part of it and who had, kind of mentored me along the way and everything I'd been through to get to this point. And for me, that game and that championship meant the world to me. And, I was certainly flying high after that. And I started every game for the rest of the year at center back and continue to get better and get better. And each game I was improving and was getting good feedback from DeMarcus Beasley, from Philippe, from the coaching staff. And that's when, I ended up scoring my first goal against Seattle at home, and also led into the last game of the year against LA Galaxy, where we ended up knocking LA Galaxy off 3-2, and they didn't qualify for the playoffs. So that, I think 2018 was a major milestone in my career, because so much happened going in, fighting for that spot, getting hurt, having to claw back, had a bad game, fell out of favor, clawed back. Yeah, a bit fortuitous. Players got hurt and presented me the opportunity, but you have to perform and you have to be ready. And that's where I think that where I did a good job is making sure that I was prepared when my number was called, that I needed to make sure that I had a good showing and gave the coaching staff the confidence to call on me again if they needed me. And that's kind of how the assistant coaches and the head coach thought of me, is that this is a guy who's going to be ready, who we know can do the job. He proved he can do it. Now he's earned our trust and we can believe in him. And so that 2018 was really a special year. I know I've probably gone on for a while. But
what was it like to play against Zlatan? Did he talk any shit?
I was expecting him, because you see all these videos of him pulling and doing like dirty tricks and stepping on people and like headbutting them and whatnot. So I'm expecting him to like be pretty nasty. And no, he's physical, and I was physical with him too, and I was pushing him, he was pushing me. But I think that I lightened it up when I spoke to him in Swedish. And I said something like, it's a little hot today, right? He was like, and he responds to me in English. He was like, F this is way too hot. He's like, we can't be playing games in the middle of the day. We have to play at night. This is BS. I said, yeah. So we kind of got a little friendly, and he didn't do anything too egregious towards me until the second half of that game, where we had just scored. I think we had just tied it up. It's 2-2. And I think it's Dave Romney, center back for LA Galaxy, sends a long ball forward. What's his name? The Norwegian forward, Kamara.
Oh, yeah.
Kamara, Kai Kamara.
Yeah.
No, not Kai Kamara.
No.
Other Kamara.
Yeah.
He played for DC United.
Ali.
Anyway.
Ali, is it? No, Ali. No.
Ali. Yeah. It is Ali. He flicked it on. Zlatan was offsides. I didn't know it at the time, so I'm running with him, and we're running. And if I don't get in front of him, it's going to be a 1-on-1, and they could be up 3-2. And so I'm trying to shove him off the ball. He's 6'5", weighs 215 pounds. He's not too easy to push around. He's pushing me back, and we're locked in now. And we're fighting for position, for position. He finally goes to give me one last shove, and his head flies into my side right here below my eyebrow. And I just feel a big hit, but I see him go down, and I feel like there's a lot of pain in this area, and I see him go down, and then I'm just like kind of stumbling a little bit, and then I fall down. And then I remember everything. I didn't black out. It wasn't a concussion. It was just a really bad hit right here below my eyebrow, which later my teammate revealed to me. Adam was just like, stay down, there's blood everywhere. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, there's blood, just stay down, don't move. And there was a big cut right here. And the trainer came on. He was trying to tape it up and put some cream on it to make sure to stop the bleeding. and he couldn't stop it. And he said, he radioed in. He said, we're going to need a sub. We can't stop the bleeding. And that really pissed me off, because I thought that I wanted to finish this game out. We had them on the back foot. We had just scored a goal. It was 2-2. What was it? 13 minutes left in the game. I wanted to finish this game. I wanted to finish the game against Zlatan. I wanted to help Dynamo end off on a good note. But it wasn't in the cards. And they wouldn't let me play, because any kind of patch he kept putting on, blood just kept seeping through and it was dripping down. Zlatan comes over, he lifts me up and he was like, "Why'd you hit me in the head for?" And I was like, "I hit you. Do you see my eye? Look what you did to my eye." He's like, yeah, it's okay. I just walked. Yeah. And then
gee, thanks.
Yeah. We walk off and Leonardo comes in and they're able to close it out. I think we scored like in the last 10 minutes, 3-2, and we end off on a high note to end the year, and leave with a nice relic that I'm going to remember forever.
Did he give you his jersey at least? El Memento?
He was pissed off. He was so we have another Swedish player on the team who was trying to go up to him and talk to him, and Zlatan was so pissed off he didn't want to talk to anybody. So at the end of the game, he's on his bench, on Galaxy's bench, and he's just like, his arms like this, and he's just like this, pissed off. Ashley Cole's next to him. There's some other guys on the bench too, but he's just pissed off. And you can tell like they needed to beat us to qualify for the playoffs. And so they underachieved, they didn't perform, and they lost to us at home in front of their home crowd. So he was pissed off. But, I thought, I'm going to go over to him, just tell him good game, whatever. So I go over to him, just shake hands, just say it was a pleasure, played against you, and then shook Ashley Cole's hole, and I was off. Now, I didn't want to bother him too much because I know he was probably pissed off, and if I was in his position, I wouldn't want somebody to aggravate me or, I don't know, just kind of instigate me or in any way. So I was like, I'll leave him be. This is my my treasure there that I'm going to remember. And so I needed to get stitched after the game. I got stitched by the doctors. They didn't do a good job. So I actually came home, and my girlfriend at the time, who's a nurse, had to call in her team, and they actually redid the stitches. They took them out on our kitchen table because we didn't want to do it at the office. On our kitchen table, they redid them because they only put in like 5 stitches. They needed a lot more. They needed like 8 stitches because it was going to be a pretty nasty scar. So they redid it, and they put in like 8 or 9 more stitches. And that's when, they just dissolved by themselves, and it looked a lot better.
Yeah, you've married well, Kev. So you picked the right girl.
Yeah.
I guess it's these stories that you're telling are awesome. I mean, to be from where you were to where you went, and it's a true story of persistence and believing in yourself and overcoming a lot of obstacles. So I guess that's pretty much wraps up your story for the most part. I guess one final question that we normally ask is, where do you see yourself? Like, how long do you want to keep playing for? And what's the future for Kevin Garcia?
Besides being father to the next most famous American soccer player.
It could be a boy or a girl. We don't know yet. So we're actually doing the full surprise. So we don't even know the gender of the baby.
Famous soccer player for either the women's or men's national team.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I was actually asked this question this year by a few guys that I just know from around USL, and I was asked, so like, how long do you want to keep playing for? And for me, I was able to go back to school while I was playing in MLS. I did do my MBA online, and I was able to intern with the Dynamo before I left, doing business analytics and working on just statistics and analytics within the team, and working on fan statistics and so working with those programs. And that was pretty cool to intern for about a month and a half before I left the team. Was able to do that. And I mean, Jake, as you know, like I was constantly doing accounting work on the side. So I was keeping pretty busy. I would like to stay involved with the game. But I think for right now, I feel good. My legs are good. I want to keep playing as long as I can because the career isn't that long, and I'll be going into my 10th year next year. So I'd like to keep playing as long as I can, as long as it makes sense for us to do it. Obviously, I'm always going to have some projects on the side that I'm doing to make sure I'm busy. But for right now, in the moment, I feel like I can keep playing, and I'm going to keep playing as long as my body allows me to.
That's awesome. That's one thing that people don't necessarily realize. Obviously, MLS guys, they can play as long as you want because the salaries are high enough. Yeah. But in USL, like some players make a very good living wage, and some don't make a little bit less. So when you start a family, when you have a little bit more responsibilities in your 30s, as we sadly both are, right? Like you kind of have to start making decisions, and a lot of guys end up retiring around the age of 28, 29, and just because of life, you need to start making a little bit more money. You want to provide, but I'm on the same page as you. Like I just you can only do it so long, and you only have one life, so just hold on for as long as it's fun, as long as it's enjoyable, and do it in Tulsa and bring a title to Tulsa, and then
Oh, that's the goal, right? That's the goal. Our bodies feel good. We're going to keep playing. I mean, the game has given us so much, so want to make sure that we give back and also use the platform also to help out the community and give back to the community. So that's always been a passion of mine and something I've continued to do, with whatever team I'm in, whatever city I'm in. So for me, able to make some good connections in each city that I'm in, and able to interact with the kids and the community. So that's always good to do, and that the game brings out of you. So for me, it's been a blessing, and I'm trying to relish and enjoy every bit of it.
Do you remember? Sorry, Dave. Do you remember in Galway, Kev, when we were breaking down film, and I think it was against Pats, and there was like a ball that got split. I was playing left midfield, and the ball got split in between me and Dave O'Leary and got picked up in the pocket by Chris Forrester. And we were going over the play, and it's like we had been going over it for like 10 minutes. Tommy's like, how do we stop this pass? And then I'm like, I could be more inside. Like Dave could be a little bit closer to me. We just could be more connected. And you come out, like you're back. I don't even think you played in this game. You probably were, I think you were injured. You were in like the back. You came out and you were just like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, Jake needs to tuck in here. Dave needs to here. Like the midfield four needs to be a block, like a back four. And you just said all this like a mile a minute. And Tommy was just like, yeah. What he said. So I think if you want, you got a future as a coach as well. So
I mean, I'd like to stay involved in the game. Professional coach, I don't think I would want to do it just because of the pressures and having to travel all over. And like you said, we want some stability and some security. So, and I've seen what the game does to some coaches and how they it chews you up and spits you out. So I do want to stay involved with the game in whatever capacity it may be, whether it's working in analytics or working in the or working with working with the union somehow. So I think I would want to stay and give back to the game and help grow the game a little bit more. But as far as professional coach, I think I did change my mind after seeing how MLS coaches are and what it takes for them to kind of produce and keep their job. So it's a lot of stress and it's not easy. It's not easy. So I tip my hat off to every single professional coach that has those demands and that adversity that they have to face each day and each week.
I was just going to say, I think actually Jake just did a better job of what I was going to say, but basically I was going to say that, I think your story and you still have a lot more to hopefully tell with your story, but I think you have a lot to give to young players, particularly like really talented players that actually have the potential to play at a high level. They can learn a lot from your experiences because so many of them get frustrated and get discouraged, and to hear about your perseverance, that the stories, the different things that you went through and how you were able to achieve a lot of success and play at a very, very high level that very few get to. It's a great story, and hopefully a lot more to tell. So.
Yeah, appreciate that. I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, I met some amazing people along the way. Met you, Jake. Each and every team. I mean,
Definitely.
Very well said, Kev. Very well said. Thank you so much. You've been so great with your time. You're probably the easiest guest. I don't even think we have to ask you any questions. You just you take it and run.
It's perfect chord.
So thanks for joining us. And until next time, Dave. I'm the athlete.
I'm the advocate.
And we are the Aristocrats.
The Aristocrats.